Welcome back, race fans. This is the Crank Brothers Race Review series where myself and some selected co-hosts will break down each and every World Cup DH race this season. Crank Brothers is synonymous with the DH racing circuit, last year celebrating an incredible 14 years in a row of Elite World Champ wins with that mallet DH pedal. Now, they also won the 2024 World Cup overall title on the pedals. And it's not just pedals. Crank Brothers has been adding to their product offering over the last few years. And now a whole host of race winners and podium contenders are in their shoes. Riders like Ronan Dunn, Andy Cole, Bernard Kerr, Ocean O'Callaghan, Lucas Shaw, Cammy Belange, Troy Brosnan, and Benoit Coulange, plus many more. And in other exciting news, Commensal Makov will be running the Crank Brothers wheels this season. Now, I'm personally blown away by the shoes and pedal combo. I am a Boa Mallet shoe guy myself. It is easy the best shoe I have ridden. All right, sports fans.
Oh shit! Here we go.
There we live. We're live, Svenos. You know that. You've told me always push record early and always leave it running. That's where the nuggets are.
Yeah.
And you just showed me Nino Shooter's champagne cork. I did make a note that has to make it into this podcast, even though it's a downhill review. But he shreds downhills harder than many. I would say that. So maybe we even start with the GOAT. The GOAT in XC, change the sport. We definitely have to have a segment of him. But, man, Lenzerheide always delivers, huh?
My very first XC World Championships I shot was Canberra 2009, and that was his very first major win. He won a World Champs as an elite before he won a World Cup. So, yeah, the first race I ever shot, XC World Champs, Nino won, and I got a flag in the middle, a Swiss flag in the middle of Australia. So I was pretty happy with that. We can pop it in the in this podcast. Yeah, pretty. Yeah, I mean, Champere, to follow up Champere, it's always like hard to go to a World Cup after a World Champs, but then the Lenzerheide, basically just the whole Nino story. The Nino story basically just kept it exciting the whole weekend, and often these days I'll skip shooting cross country, but there was no way I was missing this one. Capturing his first win, I wanted to capture his last race.
That's why we delayed recording, is because you were going to shoot XE. But as you said, I mean, you couldn't write a better script for that ending. What were the roars and atmosphere like? It looked insane on the telly. Obviously, it's not the results he would have wished for, like how Greg Minnaar went out, and his last race at home. Not like his last World Cup race, but he was visually apparently a lot more nervous for these last two races than like ever before. And Greg probably was like that at Mount St. Anne when he had to get into the top 30 to even do his last race. Once you announce your last race before it happens, I think the pressure is almost bigger than when these guys are going for these world champs titles.
Well, and like Daniel, like Greg had a qualifier, which thankfully and luckily he did, so we could actually see him. And same with across country, they have the the 80%, and you got to be within that top 80% so you don't get pulled. And they literally had a backup plan that if he gets pulled before the last lap, they would let him wait kind of, and then everyone else finishes the race, and then he comes and does his swan song. But no, he still dug deep and stayed competitive up to his very, very, very last race. And that was amazing to see. He beat a lot of top guys still. And this year would have been crazy for him. And I think the emotions would probably upset a cross-country racer more than physiologically than a downhill. A downhill, you can get into the groove of things and have fun with it. Where cross-country, there's so much going on for the whole year, never mind just the one race. And he was like emotionally spent, which led like at World Champs and just to keep trucking on and just he just handled it so well, the whole team. And the nice thing about him, he just stayed true to who he is, and very few downhillers or any athlete actually have stayed with their like sponsors for so long. Like pretty much there's 2 or 3 main sponsors with Scott and SRAM and RockShox. They've stayed together and in that team with Frishy for his whole career, which has really been admirable to see. Not just jumping around from paycheck to other paycheck so it's just it's a generational He's definitely the goat, eh?
Easily, no, easy the goat, and it's really is refreshing to see he was able to stay, because sometimes a change of a team helps with your motivation, like re-energizes you to go into the off season and train harder and test. You got something to prove again, but he just stuck to his guns, and stuck to what worked, which a lot of athletes, even the great like Tiger Woods reinventing his swing, feeling like it wasn't good enough. He could have easily gone searching for more gains. So it's a valid point you bring up, like staying with that team of Scott and Frishy, and Frishy's posts of like he got motivated for another 23 years after his racing, or whatever the number is, right? It's a
Yeah, I mean,
huge number. Like, yes, age is a little less of an issue in cross country, and you see him in epic. Like, he'll probably do epic a bit more, I would guess, and that you can have an older engine, for lack of a better term. But age catches up with everyone, man. Crazy.
one and his ex teammate won Marathon Worlds, Kate Corney. So maybe that he'll go down that route, but I think he's definitely going to more go the PD route and just not that Nino will chill like PD will and get on the beers, but in his retirement year. But obviously, he will still see him and be around. But I think he'll be. Can you imagine like having to knuckle down for 20 plus years as a cross country athlete and as the best cross country athlete in the world? Like the amount of sacrifice he's made his whole life, like how much living he has ahead of him. Like obviously, he's not going to
Yes.
get fat and unfit because that's just not who he is. But he's just going to really enjoy it for a time.
No, I can imagine. Just like on the downhill side now, I mean, every gain comes from a sacrifice that you delay, right? So like
Yeah.
Nino is fun, like on the bike. Like I can't wait to invite him to one of Brendan and I's stupid projects. Like
Yeah,
he doesn't really have an excuse to say no now.
I mean, I think he still has his place in Cape Town in Stellenbosch, so I'm sure he'll be having more. He'll be wearing baggier clothes the next few rides with you.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe he'll even bring an e-bike, because he always says don't bring an e-bike, and I always do take an e-bike if I can help it.
Well,
But
when
anyway, yeah.
we were shooting Death Grip 2 with Omri and Brandon. Speaking of Omri, another winner. On in Somerset West, we were on that ridge and we saw Nino right at the bottom of the mountain, and we just like witnessed. He was obviously doing interval training, but I've never seen. He basically got up the mountain quicker than we did in the 4x4 shuttles, and he just was smashing like minute long intervals, just doing like fuck, I don't know, like 100 meters of vertical in like a minute. It was ridiculous. We thought he was on an e-bike and he wasn't. He's just smashing it. But anyway, we
Yeah, it'll be
digress.
interesting to see what. No, it'll be interesting to see how he deals with it. The lack of focus, like he's only had this one goal his life, since he was a little kid. So it'll be interesting to catch up with him, have more beers than recovery drinks, hopefully, or some nice wine when he's in Stellenbosch. And yeah, it'll be awesome. So selfishly, definitely gonna probably get him on the pod. I've talked to Frishy about it, so I'm just putting it out in the universe. You can put in the comments you want to hear from Nino, but we are here to speak downhill. Lenzerheide always delivers. It's a famous track for obviously close racing, and Sven made me do some hard researching. Closest winning margin in the female field, and in general, closest margin since 2016, I think, Danny. But we wanted to check female, and it looks like you have to go back to Brazil for the last closest winning margin, which was 0.09, and this was 0.06. So
Who was the Brazilian margin between?
I'm just going to look it up. I think Atherton and Jonier, I want to say. I did look
So
it
that
up, and I did some digging.
you were there because I think if I remember, I think you were.
Balneario Cumbria, yeah.
I think you were riding for me that year, and we like got Rock Shocks to foot the bill and look after you in Brazil. Was that right?
So 2006, technically, I wasn't. But the previous year I was, and I had to remind Dawson that we had the bet that I qualified.
You had to do some results before Brazil to get the ride.
Yeah. And like you were quite cocky because I qualified fastest at Deer Valley. So you went to Dawson, was like, "You're gonna have to take him." And he's like, "Yeah, sure, man. If he wins the race, it's all expenses paid." And you were like, "Yeah, he just qualified fastest. Like, let's take the bet." And then I broke my chain guide, dropped my chain, and crashed and got 15th. And then I think he had like soft spot for me, and he said, "Well, if you get yourself there," I stayed in his hotel room. Like, this
Oh,
is
with him,
head of like the RockShox race department at the time,
and
and
you
he
were the
doesn't
lowest
remember it.
rider
But
on the
we,
you were the lowest rider on the totem
yeah.
pole.
So he basically gave me his spare bed in his room and had to deal with me, and we both got Brazil mudbutt that week. So it was
Oh
not like
man,
a great place to share a
to
room
share
or
a
a
room.
toilet.
Well, you won
Yeah.
Schweitzer, Idaho, beating Menard later on that year, so you made up for it somewhere.
Yeah. So anyway, Sven trying to keep giving me credibility, but age has caught up with me, and that's why we're bench racing. Age is not catching up with Amory,
No,
nor are injuries catching up with him.
well, I was like thinking because usually we'll get into the analysis of the winner at the end, but like we generally don't do anything usual way. Um, and like I was trying to figure out because he basically knew he had a scrappy run, and when he obviously went down early, being the winner, like second in Q2. Those guys, all the Q2 guys, go first in the start list, and then you get the top 20 in Q1. And this was the first race we've seen the winner come from Q2 in men's and women's, actually. It's always been a Q1 qualifier that's won before this. Um, but I, basically, he wasn't super nervous in the hot seat. I asked him because he didn't think he had the winning run, and there were all of Q1 riders still to come through, and he knew he had made some mistakes at the top. And then also one thing, like sometimes I will like ask a rider straight out, like, why aren't you doing this line, or if I think they could or should, or some riders I give like line advice to if they're looking for it or if they're open to it. And I didn't in this case. Normally, I would sort of tell Almery like I pick and choose. Like anyway, last year he came, or two years ago, he basically broke his neck. Right, so there wasn't any kind of risky line advice that I wanted to give him just based off the last time he was here, he broke his neck. And it was kind of the beginning of 2 years of different injuries that just all just on top of each other. You know, he bounced back strong every time. But the whole week, he wasn't doing the double rock drop that you saw Tiron do so well. You saw Asa do so well. Basically, anyone that did well really nailed the rock drop wall towards the end of the run. And if you even, they've just put up the GoPro comparison. They've got overlaid Aces and Unru's because they were the closest two riders together time wise. And you just see how much time Almery pulls on the first sort of greasy, long off camber first wood section. And then you see as you pull it all back. So there was just literally two sections on the whole track that separated those two riders. The rest of the track they rode pretty much on pace. And basically, two things happened with Almery there. He flattered there in his quali, riding a bit more aggressive. And his teammate Dylan Maples basically separated his collarbone, tore his ligaments off his collarbone. Another like third injury in a row for Maples at somehow is like a Superman. So like I obviously knowing his history, broken neck, Maples crashing, him flatting, I just had no place to say, hey, dude, you need to man up and ride that rock on quicker, better, faster. And luckily for him, a couple of the other riders all had no one had perfect runs, so he did enough the rest of the track to win the race. So basically, yeah, I wouldn't say he got lucky, but he thought he had a top 10 run. He didn't think he had a winning run, and usually with how tight it is these days, especially on a track like this, you can't leave that much time out on the track. And yeah, that's just the way it worked out. And it's a different race because it's the first dry race the whole week for a long time in a while.
Yeah, and I mean, a few things stand out. Like Amory mentioning over and over, like he didn't think it was the best run. Like that track is that it must be one of the finest lines of all-out aggression, mixing it with precision. That's why Greg Menard has won there multiple times, Loic Bruni in qualifying. But the hypothetical fastest lap is 2 seconds faster than Amory's time. So
that
it
would have been the
proves that
biggest
obviously
this
there
year?
was. Yeah, exactly. It is the biggest this
Yeah.
year off the top of my head. It just hasn't seemed that big. And we're talking about Leger, gnarly tracks. Like maybe Leger, I must just go check those ones. But it just shows you that that track is like there's such a fine margin. You saw so many riders like, okay, if you go like a percentage or two over the pace, because the racing line's also quite like it's only an inch or two and then you're in the shit again. In other tracks you can be aggressive, make a little mistake, run wide, not lose so much time. Like if you make a mistake there in the wrong place, like Tani did before the motorway section, like she loses so much time there. So yeah, your run doesn't feel that perfect there, but it was perfect enough, right? Compared to how many flats there were, how many crashes, mistakes, and just like guys overriding the track. Like someone like Lucas Shaw, I thought would be really good there.
And
Ronan
he
Dunn had a
was.
great
I mean,
run, so it shows like
Lucas Shaw was on podium time till his
till his
basically,
mistake, right? And
yeah,
his
yeah,
mistake is in like such a challenging little turn, and even Jackson said it would be one of the most challenging turns because Luca was clearly going for the win. Like his
yeah.
aggressive pace for him, and then you just overcook it in one section. But
You, yeah,
I
you
mean,
really,
Amaury ties Sam Hill.
yeah.
He's three
That's
wins
pretty,
away from tying Nicolas Villiers. Like I think it's
yeah,
gonna happen.
yeah.
Like he can
Um,
still do some winning. He's winning after a
well,
broken collarbone in the middle of the season. Just think about that.
yeah, and I'd say for all these record breakers, I think Manar was the first one to point this out as he would. Like there's more races now. We went through years of just 6 or 7 downhill races, and now we're getting up to 10, and moving forward is looking to be the same, which is amazing and awesome. So like these records are going to probably, and Greg said like I wish I had 10 races every year because then he would be on way more than what is it, 43 or 30. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
well, Gwyn might be a lot more because when he was going on a rampage, if he had more races this season, he was winning more as well. So it goes
yeah,
both
exactly,
ways. Um,
exactly.
yeah, I mean, in a shorter season, Amri might not have come back to this sort of pace
True.
and not had a win in this season. So it's super interesting. But yeah, look, props to him. He didn't really expect it, said he didn't feel that good. But it shows you like class, it rises to the top that he just goes
Mm,
and gets the job done. And yeah, the two people winning out of Q2 is super interesting. I think in a perfect world, you'd love like some sort of re-rank for the broadcast, but there's pros and cons to that decision. Obviously, Ben
yeah,
Cathro was mentioning like you do unfortunately lose the race in the middle, especially if someone comes out of Q2. But look, you can do a re-rank and someone can still have a flyer from early on.
yeah,
That always is part of the risk. But I think quite a few races you've got these heavy hitters that just miss out on Q1 and then they step it up in Q2,
and what they're
find
showing
the
like a minute
pace, and
less
then by
run.
the race run, they definitely have found the winning pace.
Yeah,
So maybe a thought to like try a re-rank at some point. And look, there's pros and cons. Like you'll say it's not fair, then they're getting advantage to go later the next day. It's like, well, it's like you win some, you
but
lose some. It's going to even out over a
yeah,
season.
maybe at a certain point, like let's say past the midpoint, when you got the last 3 races of the season, it is then the focus. World Champs is over. The focus is to the World Cup overall, and at that point, you want to see all of Loke and all of Jackson's runs. They obviously went in the top 10, so we did see that. But you want to see those top 10 riders. You want to see their full run. So maybe in the back half of the season, you're right. We could do a bit of a re-rank just to see more of their runs, or just maybe for World Cup finals, you just everyone in the final gets the full 4 minutes. Not just the last 10 riders. Yeah, you were just saying something which sparked me. We're talking about this race and the different time, the bigger time gap for the perfect run, and how people approach it after Q1, Q2. There were a lot of flats, like more flats than we've seen all year. Almost more flats from the whole year combined into this race. Obviously the faster, drier track, the sharper rocks, but also is the first time this year that all the bike setups have to be pushed a lot different and a lot harder. So it's not so much just the rocks and the speed and the dry speeds, but everyone's riding a harder setup on the bike. So are they going up in tire pressure along with that harder suspension setup? and that harder suspension setup, it's essentially, even if your bike's not bottoming out, for sure when you're hitting rocks, there's less give and less cush. So, dry race with rocks, you're just going to get more flats. It doesn't matter what tire rim combo you have. You can't speculate as to that. But just looking at debriefs with Armory going, flatting in Q1 and having a bit of a struggle all week, as he says, it's interesting to see, some riders just be like, okay, race run, one more click, or, and they just get over it. But Armory and Arthur, let's say the race engineer at Commensal, well, I wouldn't understand. They're speaking in French, but I noticed they sit down probably after that Q2, they had to have sat for like 30 minutes and they were just talking. Like I was trying to like get a little portrait, then come back in later and they still talking. I'm like, what are you guys? And no, we're just talking about the bike and what are we going to do for tomorrow? And I'm like, they literally sat for 20, 30 minutes speaking about, so there's a lot of changes, especially the common cell bike, but it's just pretty interesting how they will make such major changes, I guess, because, small changes to top riders is a much bigger change to an average punter. But yeah, just it just shows you what it takes these days, that they'll literally nerd that hard, and it's not for like a testing session. It's just literally for one more run or one more day on the bike, and they spoke an endless amount of time, and it obviously worked and paid off. It wasn't just a quick brash decision, and they gambled the dice. It was a long discussion, and it's not about just yeah, they hadn't then planned for flat tires. They had a plan for so many things, and maybe that's why I already knew, well, I'm running a tight, hard bike setup for everyone else, so I'm just going to have to take it easy on that place where I have flatted a couple of times this week, so I can't do the big Remy Tiron hero line of the big double.
Yeah, I mean, and Remy, you wouldn't put this on a top track for him to perform at this level. Maybe Dunn as well, but Dunn's showing his racecraft consistency. Remy Tiron showing he literally, I mean, speaking of age catches up with you, it doesn't catch up with Remy Tiron at all. I'm like, what are you talking about?
He went from like 18th to 7th, which means he like to jump 7 places ahead. It's unbelievable the pace he put on the next sector.
Dude, you're riding like a different speed, like visually a different speed in these steep sections compared to some of these guys. And he obviously knows it. He's like, I'm going to give up in the motorway, so I'm going to Hail Mary it in the steep stuff.
And he consistently delivers like top 3 splits in those sectors on every track this year. And like when he won, like when Andorra was the old venue, and when he had his win there, and he was doing Remy lines where not a lot of people did Remy lines. Now a lot of people will do Remy lines. Like the talent is depth, the depth is there. But I still I would just love to design a World Cup course if you could somehow find the right mountain where the whole race run was just Remy sectors. Like it would just be amazing that there was no not just 1 or 2 sectors that he can win it in, or be, can you imagine? Like that's the kind of track. Well, we're getting closer. Like Champoury had too many turns, but it could have been the mountain that you could
and
do that kind of track on.
Like Tuile had that sort of gradient.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, maybe not as many like wide raw sections because they had to traverse it. But yeah, it was really cool to see. And I mean, we might as well round out the podium and then talk about not an umbrella gate, but a gate incident again. We can have some conspiracy theories from Sven there. I forget, I had a conspiracy theory that someone else said, and I was like, that's such a Sven thing. But
I had a conspiracy, but then I actually spoke to them, Mark and Pinky, the next day, and he had a good smile on his face. And I was like, because to me, the first thing is like, how you can't, at this level and this level of experience, even though Pinky is young, it's like, you can't fuck it up that bad, because everyone talks about that poor girl that like world champs, one of the girls like just fell off the start. I think it was Leogang, and she just rode off the edge of the start hill. But so you can't make fun of some poor person that's never done a World Cup. You can now make fun of Pinky. And Morrison was like, I wish I had an umbrella to push him off the start gate. Like, no,
I mean, it honestly, it is so, it doesn't happen, but I'm not surprised. It's that easy that can happen. That gate is
Yeah,
narrow. So if you
yeah. I
go
mean,
for like a lunge and your bar turns slightly, like it's too narrow. Like make a
I mean
wider beam and a wider gate.
Jackson at Lutonville, he did the same thing. Like he
There was something with his gears or something. Yeah, like it.
No, he just did
You
the
go
wonder, and
for
he
a
almost like he got hung up. So the first thing I asked
yeah.
Pinky, I said, "Is the World Cup gate 100% uniform, the same at every single World Cup round?" And he says, "Yes, it is. There's no changes." Because remember the years when like there was a start out and Menard would hit his head, and like it was different. It wasn't like
Yeah.
uniform. So now there is consistency, which is great, and there's uniformity. So literally, Pinky has, has no excuses. I thought, like, did he snap a chain? Did his free hub give? But no, he just said he just pushed so
No,
hard. Like he
he
had
just
such a
pushed
hard
hard
first crank,
and you pull on the bar and it will go
and it
sideways. We
wonders.
all do
Yeah,
it. If you're
yeah,
doing sprints again, just realize what happens. But yeah, dude, it sucks. But I guess what he has going for him is the splits from once he got to sector
yeah,
one onwards. Now, that's great for confidence. That's great to soften what he said was an embarrassing moment. Like you'll look back and laugh at it, you know. But also, I've crashed in the first sector. Many riders have. He would have been angry. The pressure was off. He rode free. So it was, I think, a little bit easier to lay down this perfect run he's been wanting to do.
yeah.
You would argue. But not taking anything away. I think it's cool that that happened because now he goes, no, it is there. I just need to
Well,
maybe not crash
it,
out the start gate.
I mean, look at Kiefer. He had the same thing, and he bounced back stronger. Two podiums, world champs, and then this weekend, like uh, yeah. So what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And it worked for Kiefer. Startgout's incident and got it out of the way. And it's not really a surprise for Pinkerton because he showed speed at certain dry races last year, and we saw him in the time training and in Q1. So um, yeah, like if we'll see what the weather's going to be the next two races. I feel we're going to be cursed. We had the most glorious weather week in Lenzerheide. Literally Monday morning, it was like pouring with rain, and the waterfalls on the drive out were just incredible. And Monsanan's 1 week later this year, so we'll let's hold thumbs. We've had great weather the last 2 years, or raceable, consistent weather. But let's see if we get cursed with a massive downpour.
Yeah, and I mean, you've mentioned those two names. I would say coming into the season, these guys have over delivered even above anyone that says they've got the potential and this is what they're going to do this year. Like Pinky has just been in every final with speed, building
Yeah,
consistently. Then you see a track that suits him, like Acer, which we'll obviously have to talk about, later. But Kiefer as well, like second year elite, second at World Champs, another podium. And now we're talking about top three podiums, and not top five, which I obviously would like to still reference. I think it's only fair
yeah.
to the history of riders that have got those sort of podiums. So, sheesh, that's impressive. And he's got a
I
head on
mean,
him. I mean, he's obviously been mentored by Fabian from a young age. He's focusing on the right stuff, and he's got his processes, racecraft, yeah, just dialed in. Like, really
well, and,
impressive.
and Fabian's is great as a mentor, line guy, uh, coach, um, and he will either get, depending on how the rider likes. If it's Troy or Luca, he knows how much. Give them like maybe line advice, but with Kiefer, they get into the tiniest of detail, and the rider will either want that style or input or not. But Kiefer from day one has really, really, really lapped it up. So the combo between Fabian and Kiefer is really, really paying off. Like he will literally speak for like 2 minutes about not even a section of a track, a feature on an in-between section, and he will like literally. I'm doing track walk. I'm hearing them he's talking about his body posture, where to get the pump because of something down there, and we're not even talking about like a section. So Fabian really, really, really breaks it down, and Kiefer takes it on board, and it's obviously paying off. And you talked about Pinky and Kiefer. On paper they're the number three rider, the junior rider, or the you got Troy and Luca. So you're not ranking them, but in your head you are thinking. And the same thing with Pinky. You've got Dak and Ronan. He's the thing, which is why it's real smart for some of these big teams to have more than just the traditional two elite pro men, and because things change or conditions change or riders develop, and a third rider is not necessarily always just your reserve good. If everything happens bad to the first two riders, but they also can go win races as well. So that's the nature of the sport in these big teams. They're stacking up the elite fields as well. We'll have 4 elite riders next year with Common Salmakov. So it's sort of a sign of the times. Yeah.
But that never happened back in the day. Like, if you think about how he's expedited his learning and his racecraft and his experience. So, who mentored Greg Minnaar? Like, he had coaches and PD a little bit, but he's racing against PD. Like,
Yeah.
there weren't lines coaches. There weren't guys staying in the industry. There wasn't the internet, social media, I guess some of the budgets. Like, it really is awesome to see, and it is a new way of doing it. The mentorship happened a little bit in the background if you got the correct coach with a bit of experience. Like, I employed Stefan Gerard, who obviously did Volio, so you can gain that sort of knowledge. You would hope he's passing on some of the stuff he's taught and learned, but I didn't have like a direct world champion saying, this is what I'm seeing you do wrong. This is what I'm seeing that you could do better. Like, every race, like you're saying, every run, not every couple races or in the off season, like, okay, this is what we're going to work on, and Brian Lopes is helping Pinky. He's a self-made athlete. Like, he barely had a coach his whole life. So he's taken all that experience, all that learning, and he's just, these kids are hopefully sponges, which they clearly are. Yeah. Pretty awesome to see. And then we mustn't gloss over Lockie, Stevens McNabb. I mean, what an up and down season, but he just keeps bouncing back from little injuries, little issues. He's a dangerous rider on his day.
Well, he's been in the wings. He's got a couple of fourths. So the sad thing about not having the 5-man podium is that you overlook that he has been right there. In a normal year, he would have had already some podiums. So here's one of the top guys. Interestingly enough, shooting the cross country, they do a 5-man podium afterwards. They do it at every race, and it's agreed upon, and the photographers are there, and they take the photo and they get the recognition. It's not as much fanfare and hyped up and the music bolstering the 4th and 5th place riders, but apparently that was offered to the downhillers and they just said no, they don't want it. So they complain. So I give a lot of respect to the cross country riders. They put their foot down and their prize money didn't get made less. Like, the downhillers just let their prize money get taken away at world champs, and the cross country people were like, nope. And the 5-man podium, although officially taken away for cross country, they were like, nope. And they put their foot down and they got what they want. So the downhillers really should take a bit of a page from their book, and, quit complaining as much and just let's see some more action from them. And anyway, that's completely digress from it, although it is this race. It's just
but it is. It's like the podium thing is like such a struggle, because I was there in Leger, and I think I spoke about it with Win. Like, Hatley was behind the podium, and I couldn't quite understand what was going on. And then the officials from Warner Brother did the TV podium, and then came over. Hatley, you ready? Cool. We're doing the 5-man podium pictures, and the media was all there. And then they obviously agree that those are the pictures they put on Vital, they put on Pink Bike, they put on wherever, hopefully. So that's cool. Like, I understand, like, devil's advocate, I totally understand, like, to be uniform with the world champs and cycling 3 is kind of what they're trying to promote. Like, I get it. It's a tough one because we had this whole history of accolades for so long. Excuse me. So that's like a tough one, but we don't have to beat that dead horse. But I agree, like, it's cool that cross countries they said we like it, the teams like it, the riders like it. So the downhillers could easily follow suit. So it's not my fight. So on to the next topic.
Not our fight.
No, it's not my fight. So we've talked about Pinky with an incredible run. I think that'll build his confidence. It's nice. Look, would it be nice if he didn't have the issue and still did the split times? Fine. He didn't. It's ironic and comical that the inexperienced things have come from the inexperienced riders on paper. It's actually just comical, but I think it's a weird coincidence. but it won't happen again. Um,
Well, until
but
like
well,
something's going
until
to
it
happen again.
does. But I mean, it's
Yeah.
like everything's perfect, and then in hindsight, you go, well, I guess the gate could be a bit wider, and then just a wider rubber beam. That could be safer for this never to happen again because it is quite narrow
Yeah,
when you're
but then
lunging out of a gate to try win a race. It is
yeah, but
kind of
if
narrow in hindsight.
yeah, but if it's one guy in 3 years and out of so that's out of like 2,000-3,000 starters, then do you change a gate or does Pinky change his
No, no,
start?
no. I think Pinky lunges forward first, then gets on the bar, pulls. But who does come out
Yeah,
the
how
gate?
many?
Hey, who comes out of the gate like a rocket? Tani Seagrave. She's done it nearly every race this season, winning the first split or up there.
I think Valley's won
And
a few first splits. Yeah,
yeah, but other than that, I think Tani's won the rest.
yeah,
Like that strategy and speed at the top paid off huge.
yeah. I mean, you had yeah. Uh, watching her and Nina, like the approach is so different. Like if you had to take the time away from the corner of the screen and watch him, it's you could never say who's quicker because the riding styles are so different. Like Nina's muscling and strong, and especially like the physicality. The riders were short course, but were super pumped, like arm pump, and you're pushing off the bike and with the speeds. And then Tane is just sailing so smooth and just like linking the outside, the setup to the exit, the setup to the exit, and then carrying speed on the in between bits. Um, and using the sort of shrill, like you see videos of her, like when she's in Morzine, like she can shrill turn, like just jump into the corner and rah. Um, not a lot of people can do that well, and she's one of the best, not just men or women, and got her into that rhythm for that run for sure. And yeah, her time that she made up from Q1 to, oh, sorry, from Q2 to that final run, and also how close she was to the men's time in such a big sector. That's like quite a small deficit for the amount of time for sector one for her or for the men's times.
I
Yeah.
did see that. I did see that stat, and it wasn't a perfect run. She made that big error trying to jump that little rock garden before the motorway with a super Buddha.
Was that is that the
So it
one that Valley
wasn't.
was great? That was the one that Valley was tripling all the time, and doing
I
it.
think so. Yeah, you like do a little
Yeah,
step down over some rocks, then you turn left. I mean,
yeah,
Tanya
exactly.
had to get on the brakes and pedal up to speed. And yeah, I mean, for everyone at home, like, what do you mean they gassed out? What do you mean they're getting arm pump in 3 minutes? But other tracks, you'll have a section that links a gnarly section where you're already up to speed. You can't pedal any faster. There's no point. You can actually almost take a bit of a mental break, but also physical. Here, those linking sections out of every turn, that some of them are quite flat. You've got to put pedal strokes in. After that root section that you mentioned at the top, where Amri
Yeah,
went a bit more inside, Loic went outside, you've got to get hard on the pedals. So everywhere that you were thinking normally you'd take a breath, like to win the race, you've got to raise your heart rate and build up that lactic in the legs, and then the forearms as well, because you're just fighting for speed and pumping the ground.
yeah, and that's why it's a pity Miriam didn't end up not racing. Um, she basically was second fastest person on track. If you look at the times on her Q1, had massive crash the morning of qualifiers on also that spot where Maples crashed and where Omri flattered, which is probably another thing in Omri's back of his head, like that ended her weekend, it ended Maples' weekend, it almost ended his with the flat, which is why maybe he took the easier, slow approach and not gapping like the other guys. So she had crashed there and then did her quali run and literally like took on a lot of painkillers. Her arm is swollen, and a younger, dumber, less experienced pom pom would have just gone into done the Q2 as well. But like her arm just gave out, and she said, you know what? She's made too many bad decisions, racing too soon after of a head knock, and which has put her in her long term sort of concussion injuries. And she said, you know what? Even though like she literally could have won the race, she chose not to do her Q2, even after like almost winning her Q1. with if she hadn't crashed, which is an admirable decision. But going back to what we reason I brought her up is because you talked about this race was won. Yes, there's maybe only 3 sections of the track that were enough technicality that required you to be super on it, or the race was won on all the in between linking sections, and it was harder. Like Leger, like you said, you flow out with speed, and you can maintain that speed into the next section. But this one, yeah, the race was almost won off camera. We couldn't see a lot of it from the first drone angle; it was too high, and it was the getting down to the nitty gritty, which is the linking sections, which pretty much won the race. Yeah, and that's where the great battle with Tanya and Nina were, because she muscled back up to speed really good, and it was super close.
And did you catch up with Valley at all? I mean, she looked pretty just devastated in the finish bowl. I mean, it is always tough when you qualify fastest. You've got one goal in mind, or when you qualify well and then your final result is like less than that, which I'm not taking away from anything from her riding. And maybe we all thought the floodgates would like open after world champs, like little monkey off your back. And she did everything right. But, these races, I mean, you walk away from a weekend and you just look at the final result, and that doesn't tell the whole story. That's not how well you rode for many people, i.e. Pinky, i.e. the guys that got flats, all these sort of things. But racing, unfortunately, you look at the result sheet.
Well, obviously she wants to win races and she'll be super happy, and she fought and dug deep for world champs and got the job done. So she has a major win this season. And let's not forget, she didn't win the race, but she finished ahead of Gracie, who's her closest in points. So another no podium, but another solid, number for the overall. And going into winning, if she wins the overall and world champs at the end of the year, that's like a great season. But I think give it a year or give it a couple of weeks or give it a day and people will forget that she hasn't won a race. Yeah, we'll bring it up in the podcast in 3 years. But, to get the overall and the rainbow jersey in the same year, that's like better than maybe winning a race to get the overall in my books in the long term. But also, the YT mob, they've got a lot going on. Those riders, people are starting to talk. There's contract silly seasons happening, and there's already all those talks happening around the pits. You see it all over the place. But the YT riders, they got a lot more going on. Like are they getting paid? Are they, they're already in contract negotiations. There's already 2 of the riders on YT mobs have already signed contracts for next year. One you could probably gather because he's not wearing a YT mob shirt in the final, and he's got a safety pinned on.
So it's not a conspiracy theory. It's just
no. I guess there was an early signing. I think he had an early signing bonus. So if he signed before the end of the season, he'd get an extra bonus. So
what from said clothing company?
No, it's just anyway. It's just speculation.
Hey, we just throwing out conspiracy theories. I thought we're allowed to do that. So you're not giving away. You're not giving away anything we haven't seen. It was on the broadcast.
I mean, like I've so there's 2 riders already signed up for next year, and the third is pretty much a done deal. But so I think Valley, so I think what, if she wins the overall and the rainbow jersey, like I don't think she gives a shit. She won a race and she won world champs. Anyway, we've still got 2 races to go. She win. She'll want to and can win at any of those 2. But yeah. Imagine. No, we don't want to go there.
Well,
imagine you test.
You decide. You decide if you want to go there. While I say I'm very impressed. Like Gracie Hemshed, that's a heroic effort. I mean, she was in hospital. Rumors not going to race. Comes back, gets a 4th for the overall. Stays in the hunt.
Yeah,
that's heroic.
Yeah.
And Jordan Williams for going up after that crash. Dude. I mean, when John T sends me crash videos, we don't like to send each other crash videos because we used to race. We still ride. Like, we don't like it. But when John T says, have you seen it? I know. He's like, dude, he got spat over the bars so quickly, his arms and legs went stiff. Like, that type of crash. I'm like, really? Yeah. So then I had to go and look.
So this is
It was insane.
last practice run before the race, and Jordan looked amazing all week. He was like definitely podium threat for sure. Um, and there's only three riders, and they only three riders hadn't come down yet. So they're like the course sweep is like already halfway down the track trying to get these guys off the track. And the only three riders we hadn't seen was Jackson, Amory, and Jordan. And when it's getting to the point, it was taking quite long. Then you start wondering, I wonder if some one of them's had a crash. Next thing you see a bike from far away being walked down the hill, and we're trying to like zoom in to see what bike it is, and we see it's Jordan's, and then you see the wheel. It's not just a flat; the wheel is folded and twisted, so you know that the bike's had a major crash. And I hadn't seen the video till after the race, but yeah, I can't believe he raced. His body is going to be feeling worse on Monday than on Sunday than it did on Saturday for the race. But geez.
Yeah, that's fair play.
And that's what you do. The
painkillers and a bunch of adrenaline, but that's what you do, right? Freaking.
And that's what G at the gym said. Like 80% of his gym work is to take the crashes, and G took some crashes. Yeah.
No, absolutely. So yeah, props to Gracie for doing that. We'll get into the title hunt because that was an interesting development. But Danny Hart, 120 World Cups on his birthday, back where we want to see him. I mean, you can't not be stoked, dude.
They did a whole World Cup campaign on a video, a custom helmet, and it's random. Why didn't they do a custom helmet for when he got 100 World Cups? So maybe they forgot or missed it. But like 120,
I think we all missed that.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, let's do 120. Well, I'm like, oh, well,
that sounds good.
Oh shit, yeah, he's 34 years old, So
well,
and he was racing for a long time. It's no surprise he's done 120.
Yeah, so it's so there's extra pressure on him. Birthday, 120 races, and not having the best season by his standards. But then he like just thrives on it because at Champere as well, there was a lot of just Danny Hart, and
yeah, that would have been tough. That would have been a tough race. Like it's cool to go back there, but if you're trying to perform with everyone like expecting you
14
to
years.
be Danny Hart, 14 years later, track's
14
totally
years
different.
Apart.
Like track's totally different. It wasn't pissing rain. Like there's a million more guys
berms.
that know how to ride that. Yeah, it has berms now, and there's a million people that know how to ride bike park style berms. Like. Yeah, that would have been a tough week to get through. I guess like a lot of weight on your shoulders,
Yeah.
So that's probably cool that he's got through that. It was nice to relive it. But yeah, I text him. I'm stoked for him. Like people were saying, like I heard some people describing, like, okay, well, when you get success a little early in your career, sometimes you're not taught to go through the hard work or the hardships. Like, true, maybe the hardships here and there. He's had a pretty good run. He's had some injuries, but Danny Hart has always been one of the hardest workers in the pits. Like he has. He had that maybe the year after the World Champs. He had a little interesting off season, I would say. He came in a little, he won't mind me saying, a little like less prepared than he hoped because he had a lot of people pulling him in different directions. But there wasn't an off season that he wasn't training his ass off. So I know he's been putting the work in, so it's cool to see.
Buying and investing into yourself and the future and your community, like having a bike park, and it's kind of like you, although you're not haven't been multi-world champion, but
no, I certainly have not. No,
it just shows that like he's just froths on it.
I that's my caveat when we talk about the world champs curse. I'm like, well, I don't have direct like knowledge of this. But from the outside, we might as well jump into it. First race in the Jersey, he's gone down. Now, there's no common denominator of crashing. It just so happened in the Jersey, but Sven says it wasn't pressure. I agree it wasn't pressure. He was going for the win. He came in too fast. He said he hit the bump too hard, and that's racing. It's not the Jersey. I totally agree.
You know what? It's okay. There's definitely a world champs curse if you look historically, but you could read with like stats, you could read anything into anything to support your statement. So we talked about like these kids these days, Jackson still being a kid, and all these riders, they get spoiled so much with not just one world champs custom bike or one custom kit for one race or a world champs race or something. They having new bikes and kits every other race, sometimes every race. So I asked him, do you drop your helmet when you get a new helmet. He's like, he says, why would I do that? I like my helmet's cool. And like he say, he does not feed into superstition at all, which is why in this instance, I don't think there's a world champs curse on the jersey or on Jackson. He just wants to win races. Like, yeah, and we can discuss Loick's approach was his fifth or sixth, where did he get place as a result of him getting news of Jackson's crash, and that even if it was subconsciously and not consciously, did he tone back his run because he knew it was a big weekend to gain points, and if he was in the top 10, he was gaining a lot of points on Jackson. Did that, like, if Jackson didn't crash, would Loick's results have been better? Probably, even if he will say, no, I rode my run and I made a mistake. But I think subconsciously it would have panned out differently for him. But Jackson was super quick as he is. And if you look at, we speak about people's sector times and we spoke about Pinky and stuff. But even with his crash, you know how hard it is to get up to speed after a crash. Like Pinky is a little bit different because it wasn't hitting the ground. But for Jackson to win sector one and the final sector, so he is the only rider to win two sectors. It's safe to say that, okay, there's a lot of sectors missing, but it's safe to say that, he could have, should have maybe won that race. And if he was attacking like he was attacking when he did crash, I know he had changed his line on the rock wall and was doing it quicker on final day than he was doing it in quali, so he wasn't going to lose time there. So it's just, he also knows he's got two more races and he adapts quick to new tracks, as we've seen in Latuelle. So new track in Plattekill, in Lake Placid. So he's maybe not that fussed to roll the dice and go for the win, and maybe it's going to definitely hurt him in the overall, but he sees it as still two more races, so he's maybe not that fussed. Maybe he thinks he's going to win the next two races. Who knows?
No, I think you've summed it up perfectly. Like, I was basically just giving some clickbait on the World Champs jersey. Like, this is a banter because you text me before the thing. Like, it's not a curse. I'm like, of course it can't be a curse. It's one race. Like, you can't. It's not a curse. But
he has a funny story. It's not the World Champs curse, but you remember how long it took PD to win the World Champs? Like, his whole career, he was in the running for World Champs and he got second. Don't know how many times. Same as like Miriam Nicole, just second too many times. But he finally gets the rainbow jersey, first race in his life, first time run. I think it must have been a quali. Basically, it was the very first time he put the rainbow jersey on. Was it training? He didn't do a time run. It was like training because he was waited so long. I think he just wanted to do from first day training. Schladming, 2009, the race after camera, and all of us are like, can't wait, like photographers, we nerd out on little things. And one of them that not one of us, Gary Perkin was sitting next to me, have a shot of Steve racing in the, riding in the rainbow jersey. Like, it's something we've all waited for so long. He comes by and we all like ready, and he fucking wasn't wearing his goggles. So I'll find the shot for the podcast. The very first photo I have of Steve Pete between the tape in the rainbow jersey, he doesn't have goggles on. What a rookie. What a little...
That's so funny. And I think
it was almost like he's doing it on purpose. He's just like, yeah, guys.
I think the PD story is funny because, like you said, it took so long to get it. And that's probably why it's he kind of made it famous that it could be a curse, because he started crashing so much in that jersey to the point that he started rolling around in the dirt before race runs.
Really?
Like, that was kind of the... Yeah. Did you not hear about that? I think eventually... No. I got to check with him, but I remember like eventually it became like a running joke. And it was obviously that year afterwards where he was like on this tour of the
booze
world,
cruise.
Like booze cruise. Like, so this is not comparing... I'm not saying anything about people in the current jersey, because Vali's won many, many, many races in the jersey, and so have everyone else, Danny Hart included. So, but I remember, I don't know where it was, but eventually he just started rolling in the dirt quickly before the run, like how you drop a brand new helmet. So, anyway, I think Jackson took it to Loic. I think he looked attacking, won the sector, those two sectors you mentioned. He looked like he was going for the win, which I think is a good strategy. Like the way to get ahead in points is to win the race. That's
Yeah.
how he knows he's going to ride. And it was just like a racing error, just hit that section too hard.
What do you feel about the weighting of points for wins versus how much you get in qualifying? Like, do you feel the weighting's about right? So it keeps like.
I need to look at the points because I was surprised
Because
that you
before
could
this
win.
race,
So you could win 4 races and not be more ahead. And then also Gracie versus Valley, like consistency you should get paid for consistency, but you should also really do well, like if you're going to put that many wins compared to someone else. So have they adjusted the points compared to in the past? Because in the past, like if you had a win or two, I mean, you soared ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the points have been adjusted over the years a little bit, but I'm not sure if it's just more.
Which is good because I think they were a bit screwed towards the podium and the top. Like you could get 7th, and if you compared that to 4th in time, like you would lose quite a lot of points. So, yeah, I think wins, you could cheekily weight them a bit more, I guess, because it is, as we
which I guess
have
why
been
finals
told.
is qualies don't count, so it's just it's just the final race, you get the points.
That the final round of the World Cup is going to be just finals again.
Yeah.
See, I don't know if that's fair either, because like the whole year you were rewarded for consistency on quali, then the final race, why only finals?
I don't know. Like, I'm fine with it being finals because you can do things differently because it creates the hype and stuff. Like World Champs is different in a lot of positive ways and a lot of negative ways. But but talking about Jackson, how good was it just to keep the practice hype on all those guys just shredding the big super
Oh my
booter?
goodness. Yeah. I'm surprised you haven't brought that up as the first topic.
You know what I feel bad
about? As a photographer.
Because, you know what I feel bad about? Everyone just credits like, man, Asa in the backflip and his quali run is like, oh, someone's got to give little Teo Erlingse some credit. He was the first guy to flip. You know what? I think actually a junior that year might have flipped it before him in the training session before. Someone will put in the comments.
Here's a comment. Since Teo had a go at us.
Okay,
Overheard, wasn't me. I can't take credit for it. But once Ace had also flipped it, I don't know who did it first. I was like, yeah, that's amazing that.
But Teo did it the year before. Teo did it 2 years ago.
So I was like, oh, well, Teo might have to try flip it in the race. And someone said, Teo might have to try qualify.
2 years ago, he was flipping it. And I'm like, and then he didn't in quali, and he qualified. And I said, well, now's your chance. And this is into the semi. I said, now's your chance. You can flip on live TV. He's like, no, dude, I'm racing. I can't flip. I'm like, I don't want to break to you, but you're never going to qualify. You should just but that was also when they were broadcasting the semi. And I'm like, this is your chance to shine. So he missed on the opportunity. And now Asa did it in an official timed.
No, dude, props for flipping that. Asa, you madman. Did Jackson also flip it in practice?
No, he didn't flip it. He did
just
something
went higher
equally visually, just like the boosting to the moon with the crazy tweak, and we had like knacks and the flips, and then a little playing into the snowboard half pipe. What was that? I don't know what that was about on the downhill course, but and then you got people like Cade and Chaos at the West Virginia hip and Brendan flipping in it. It's cool to, like the riders enjoy. Give them some fun in the tracks as well. There's not a hell of a lot of jumps that are good for fun and sending, and you can build them that you can have style and still and fast. Have the finish line and then have your big super booter and like Supercross when the fireworks go off, and like have a trick jump after the finish line or at the finish line. So you're going literally the base of the lip of the jump is the timing beam. Make it so they can hit it fast because they're going to be going hell of a fast.
I was going to say, but I feel like it's like the amount of ambulance you might have to bring over and stop the race after the timing beam. I think the organizers might be cool idea, Sven, but we can't afford to stop this race again.
And there's not enough space. There's not enough space in this finish bowls to fit like a jump after the finish line. But we can dream.
But Nico mentioned he's like, it probably kept his mind off like
Yeah, for sure. You're having
all
fun and
the race and stuff, like having fun, flipping, you jazzed, one qualifying with a flip. But no surprise, I thought that track was going to suit Asa probably more than the Elrons, even though I know there was a mechanical issue there. But it's super cool to see. Super
is Nico
fast
not
time.
is Nico not wouldn't he be like the coolest team manager to have? He's like smoking darts on the side of the track sometimes. He's building your bike and he's raced at the highest level and he's so chill. He's got that good management style where like he lets the riders do their things and he'll nudge them certain ways, but he's like just someone I would like you'd listen to out of respect, and he's just got a good management style. I really like the way he's doing it, and then he gets in the booth. He's just one of the dudes, isn't he?
No, it's really cool. No, I like as he seemed clean cut from the outside, but then to
Yeah,
see
I
him
went.
like smoking the
Yeah,
darts on the two stroke, lighting it up, and like it's obviously not, he doesn't actually smoke darts, but for
no,
him
he
to just
just
like play up to that
does
thing.
it
And
for
then
us. Yeah,
they did that awesome bike reveal, like that garage discovery show or whatever that they ripped off was super
yeah.
funny. Him and
And
Logan.
then
Yeah, it's
give
refreshing to see, of course.
and giving credit with due with when he's good on the commentary booth. I got to say, I was at World Champs and I heard your commentary. Maybe it was after World Champs, but literally straight away, like I saw the instant I was like, "Oh, something's wrong with the armory." And in my, oh, that's right, I saw it on the live feed, but we didn't have your commentary. And normally they missed that minor thing, but because he was still going hell of a fast and looked good, but I knew there wasn't just that hundredth effort, and I was like, something's wrong with Armory or his bike. And then I watched the rerun from World Champs, and you literally picked up on it the second I saw it, and you just straight away said, "What did you say? I think he has a flat. I think something wrong." But then, like afterwards, he
Yeah,
carried
he
on
just
riding. So,
wasn't attacking. He wasn't
but
attacking
you
like he
picked
usually
up on
did.
it. So, yeah, to give you some
Oh,
credit on your
thanks.
commentary for World Champs, so you picked up on it just
You're on the
super
record,
quick.
yes, Sven, giving me credit. You're on the record.
Yeah,
I
well,
got you.
there we go. But
So
that
I
was World
would
Champs.
have spotted it quicker
This
than
is
you. Is
Lenzerheide.
that what you
Yeah.
say? And I
No,
spotted
no,
Ace's flat
I'm
probably
saying a
quicker
lot
than
of
you.
times. No, I'm saying a lot of times these little details get overlooked on the broadcast and they don't get noticed, and you noticed it, straight away. And this is what you mentioned, Alaran twins, which is what made me think of the same thing.
Yeah, totally.
Um, he, I caught the exact same thing as Almery at World Champs. I looked up while I'm waiting for my shot, and I looked up, and he was going through the section, going through it fast, but he wasn't going through it at Alaran pace. And I was like,
Yeah.
something's off, something's wrong, something's going on. And sure enough, like he got that what was a slow leak up high, but he got that slow leak so damn early, no one even realized it was like affecting him. And then at the finish line, it was pretty much flat. So that slow leak was happened way up the track and affected him. But then also
Wow.
on defensive Asa, Till and Max have kind of stood out every practice session. I would say they weren't, and they noticeably like, oh, did you see this? Did you see that? It kind of didn't happen this week in Lenzerheide, like that John T. Williams kid. Like I keep looking at my camera, I'm like, dude, this is the sickest first year junior. We've like he's going to be winning some races next year for sure. But he looks like attacking. He's jumping super far, good crazy style. He's just like one of those Kiwis that are just can ride junior Kiwis that are just too damn good on bikes. So good sign of the times for him for next year. And I would say he looked more aggressive and attacking than the Alaran brothers, even in training. Even though Max did have a mechanical in his race run.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we've bigged up the L runs and bigged up Ace and bigged up all the juniors, there are going to be tracks that suit different riders, horses for different courses. Like it just is a thing, and no surprise, Ace coming from Durango, he's going to do well in the dry, sketchy dirt. He's not riding wet, muddy route, gnarly Europe tracks as much as the L runs up until this point. It is something that he will continue to develop.
Yeah.
It's the same as
Yeah.
as many of the riders. Like it's just, where does he ride those conditions? A little bit when he goes East Coast in America, But those sort of
To ship
flatter,
him,
carry your momentum tracks, dude. And not to mention, he was great on the pedals. Like if he can win Ciota Elite, like he's got some power in those
true,
legs, and you
true.
needed that. Like he visually makes that bike go forward when he pedals it as a
It's
junior.
crazy how the worst downhill track in the world, Ciota, can also can also be indicative of being one of the best riders in the world, because if you can win on that track, you have that one component that, like, people that have won Sea Otter downhill, there's definitely been some correlation, and people that have won Sea Otter slalom. So it's pretty cool that a festival like Sea Otter, which is the complete opposite to downhill, you can spot talent, whether it be from the slalom, like a Martin Mays and bike handling skills, or like Acer at Sea Otter downhill. Like it's crazy how cool the sport is, that such diverse things can still be a breeder or a indication of just bike riding skills and talent and depth.
True. Or like if you look good at the dirt jump park, like a Jackson or a Ace, like they can do flips, they can do 360s. Like it's bike handling skills do correlate though. If
Well, I
you
mean, Semenuk's not winning World Cups.
no, but he
He probably
never
could have.
really he didn't go down. Yeah, I mean, if you forced him to go down that route, I think he could have
Yeah,
developed the speed. He's got the bike handling and the touch for sure.
yeah.
So you said Loic Bruni. I think it'll be very difficult to argue against subconsciously if he heard the news. But you sound like he did hear the news that
I,
Jackson
I don't,
crashed.
I, do-
Did he get
I
radioed
don't,
up? We don't know. Hey,
I have no idea, and I didn't. I spoke to him, but I never spoke to him about the race.
it'll be interesting
Yeah,
to get an idea if he did hear or if he requested to hear. Like, I feel like if I'm in the title hunt, which I haven't been, or maybe at the Norbers, but I'd want to know if he crashed. But if he stayed upright, I don't want to know times. So that's just like
yeah.
every rider's different. I don't know what Loic would request.
We needed Win
I feel like
TV
you
would have
want to
asked him
know,
that.
like, especially coming into the last race of the season, I think Loic would want to know. But if they qualify close enough to each other, you ain't going to know.
Yeah, yeah. But
Oh,
you know
you
the
might have, well, if they
the
watch
news
the
will.
live broadcast.
Jackson was Q2, so he went early. And I feel
Dude,
like
here's a
Amaury's.
conspiracy theory. You hack the broadcast, you AI crash, you let the other rider think that the guy crashed, then he rides chill. How's that? That's a conspiracy theory.
Dude, that's just
You got to
true,
be
man.
proud
That's
of
not
that
it.
one.
That's just silly. Um,
Oh, come on. And yours weren't silly.
yeah, true. But yeah, you got changes. You got like Syndicate getting a big new truck next year. Specialized getting a big new truck next year.
They already have a
Um,
big new truck. What do they need another one for?
I guess Specialized were one of the first to get the big shiny truck. That's been around now. Like even the Syndicate's like rusted little box
Actually, I
red
think I
thing
know who might
is 4 years.
take that truck off them.
The Syndicate or Specialized?
I feel like I
I think
heard this.
Gooden.
I
I
can't
wouldn't.
talk out loud about it.
Goodman will
Um,
probably get Santa Cruz's one, but yeah,
it's going to be an interesting silly season. It definitely, like you said, it's public knowledge. YT's in disarray.
maybe
Those
maybe
riders.
YT's truck's already been bought by one of these teams.
It was on lease. It
Okay.
was on lease, luckily. Anyway, that's yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know if that's public knowledge or not. I don't know if the lawyers listen to this, but they can't impound that one. It was on a lease. I'm just scanning through the results. We for sure
Ronan Dunn, we did touch on him, and he looked way better than I thought he would on the whips.
I said that it's incredibly consistent for someone that has been known to be, willing to put 110% into a run, and there's places on this track you can't do that.
Yeah, I mean,
So
the one we
very
have to
impressive
speak
there.
about is Rosa, the junior, well, the fastest woman of the day. Actually, all the junior
Shucks,
girls.
yeah.
I think like 3 or 4 of the girls, like 4 or 5 of them, or 5 or 6 of them, would have been in the top 10 of the elite time. She
Top,
was fastest time
well,
time of the day.
top 6. They're all faster than the top 6 or top 5.
Yeah. So that group of junior girls, and some are staying, some are moving up, but all of them, Rosa, Letha, the other Rosa on Specialized. Yeah, which is also interesting. Like she's had her injury, but she's also like it's cool. Like we talked about management styles. Specialized are happy to let her like miss races because of school and like get her like we've always said that we want the juniors to do that, and they haven't had any pressure or push from one of the biggest best teams on the circuit to like make her just focus on racing and allow her to heal from injury. So that's really good to see that. And then the Lena and Matilda Hulsebusch, it's junior, like they take their time, the 2 years, although Rosa's first year, and they when they graduate out of juniors, as we've seen with the men the last 2 years, they're ready for elites, and it's the same is going to be said. I think this year, other than Valley, this year, this is a really strong graduating junior women's class. So it's going to be even tighter next year in the elite women.
Yeah, that's well said. A lot of first year juniors, but still, it's not just one that is at the top that'll sneak into elite finals. We're going to have a few junior male men. That's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's going to be very, very scary. That's for sure. I was very impressed with those times. It is a different story when you get into elite category, but at least you proved that you have the times. So you just need to
Well,
sort
and
of sit back and just remind yourself that you've done the times before you do belong, and it's just another race run. Easier said
yeah,
than done.
like Sasha Ernest this week, she's also had an up down year, but she was one of the top juniors consistently on the podium and won some races as a junior, and it's taken her a couple of years, but now she's top five. That would have been a podium. Now she's right there battling, so it's just some juniors come in swinging, some juniors take 2 or 3 years in elite, like we've seen with a lot of the men, and and then they start giving us the results. So it's different for a bunch of different riders.
And was that Camille Belanche's last World Cup? Like she's not going to do the
No,
last two, or is it just the last?
no,
Because it was in Switzerland
lost,
and all the friends and
lost.
family could be there, they celebrated
Yeah,
as well, right?
yeah.
Because
Like
she's going to
Nino's
US
not.
Open, I saw.
Yeah, Nino's not going. Nino Schurter, it's his last World Cup period,
Yeah.
and Cami her last World Cup in Switzerland. Yeah,
Okay, that was
yeah,
really awesome to see, and we should be celebrating her
yeah.
before the last race. Like,
There,
what an incredible career, and really special for them to race at home and have friends and family there. Because what she achieved in a short space of time is insane.
yeah, and the riding styles of Rosa,
And
and
Cami,
very similar in terms of that. I won't say just that perfect fluid using their long arms and legs. Yeah, very very similar. Riding styles, really like mature, settled, clean riding styles. And then, did you see the little practice videos on Instagram that you know? It's not often you're getting stoked watching junior girls practice on social media clips, but like those top 5, 6, 7 girls were just training, and on the big Buddha jump or that jump, like whoops, suicides, and then into the snow half pipe. Like it's pretty funny when a junior girls mega train makes it into your explore page, and then you're watching it, like it's as exciting and entertaining to watch as all the like elite male men doing their flips and whips and stuff. So it's this the female racing, as we've said so many times, and junior female racing is like as exciting as the rest of the categories.
and we still got 2 more races to go. So make sure you tune in. You know what to do on the tubes, on the audio. Follow Sven Martin Photo on Instagram. You're always posting. What's that?
Hey, Jackson kept the Crank Brothers World Champs wins alive with the
Yeah,
pedals.
15 years in the male category, 15 in a row. That's quite a streak. Yeah, totally. No, I didn't intro it, but it's good that we outroed. Yeah.
If Omri like won, then Crank Brothers could still be like there'll be an asterisk,
With the wheels.
It'll be like 16 wins, and then it'll be an asterisk, but Omri is like not pedals, just wheels. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would be quite funny. No, good for them. Thanks so much for supporting the podcast. Go check out all the epic product they have. Adding to their product offering with the wheels, with the shoes. Not much more we can say. 15 wins in a row. What else do we say? And then Nino Schurter, Take a bow. Incredible career. I'll see you in South
That's his
Africa for
champagne cork.
enduro shredding and some wine. Camille Belange, your last race in Switzerland. And for everyone that we missed, we do apologize. Ping us in the comments. Till the next one. Peace.
Cheers, Andrew.
Thanks very much to Crank Brothers. This was the Crank Brothers Race Review Series. Myself and a selected co-host will break down each and every World Cup this season. Now, Crank Brothers is synonymous with the DH racing circuit. Last year, they celebrated 14 years in a row of Elite World Champs wins in that Mallet DH pedal. They've also won the 2024 World Cup overall title on the pedal. And it's not just pedals. They've been offering to their product offering, and they have a whole host of race winners and podium contenders in their shoes. Riders like Ronan Dunn, Andy Cole, Bernard Kerr, Ocean O'Callaghan, Lucas Shaw, Cammy Belange, and Troy Brosnan, plus Benoit Coulange, just to name a few. Now, in other exciting news, Common Soul Muckaf will be running the Crank Brothers wheels this season. Now, if you know me, I am personally blown away by the shoe and pedal combo. I love them. I picked the Boa Mallet shoe at the moment. It's easy the best shoe I have ridden.